Hi, it's Make It Monk 10 and I'm here with Suze and we're a little bit delirious because we've only eaten biscuits today.
My fault. Yeah.
Your fault. You
My
baked
fault.
them and they were too tasty, so we've had no lunch. But the reason I'm being mean and forcing you on camera is because one of your favourite things to do is
Reticulation.
But I can't remember. Was that by accident? Because quite a lot of the time people come to reticulation because they accidentally melt something.
No, I read about it in a book and I just decided I liked the texture and just wanted to try it. So one very hot July night in the folk house, I spent Lord knows how many hours annealing bits of silver.
And initially, because one of the things I talked about at the start of the month was we used to anneal it less. So you were saying it was more like 7 times.
Yeah.
Do you remember how it went the first time?
So we tried 2 different, I should have brought the piece actually. We tried 2 different
the fake
ways
way
of doing it. We did the fake way and the proper way. So the proper way didn't end up as sort of probably as textured as this.
But I might be wrong, but probably it wasn't as thick as that either.
No, it wasn't. It would have been this thickness. And the fake way went probably more like this on the bottom of here.
Just sort of
bumpy, but not
sandstone,
proper.
but not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not proper rivulets.
So normally the fake way is you're just melting it, but
Yeah.
the problem with that is your layers of metal can sort of separate slightly and get air bubbles in it, so it tends to be, sometimes if you touch it it's a bit squishy, or you don't get as much texture, or it's just not going to work as well. But the plus side with the cheats way is if you're short of time and you're happy to give it a go, sometimes you do get nice effects.
Yeah.
So we've had nice effects before, and especially like I say, sometimes the reason people come to reticulation is just because they overheat something and accidentally melt it, and it can sometimes be a case of either you accept it for what it is, you start again, or you just go for it and heat it more in the hope that you get a similar texture all the way around. And then when they've done that once, it can get a little bit
addicted to it. No, yeah, it was just saw it and wanted to try it, and actually since I've done it, yes, it's my favourite thing to do. I'm going to go home and try some of this with the brass and the copper, which I haven't done before now. I've only been scared and stuck to silver because I know that goes the easiest, but this is, so that's 10 times.
10 times is a good point, because let's say when you did it with me originally, it was about 7 times.
Yes. Yeah.
And the reason I used to say that was because 7 was the minimum probably for getting away with it, but the reason I then changed and told people more like 10 to 12 times is because it's so easy to lose count, isn't it, when you're doing your annealings?
I write on it with a Sharpie. In between.
See, I do the little tip list on the paper.
Yeah, because I quite often do it and then I'll go off and do something else whilst it's sitting in the pickle. So yeah, I write on it with a Sharpie.
Good. When you did your brass, because we did have one go, didn't we, ages ago?
Yes.
And got holes in it.
Yeah.
How many times do you reckon?
I think that was only 7 as well. Yeah.
But it would have been the same thickness.
Yeah,
so
it was 0.8 mil.
So it should have worked better. This is 0.5.
Okay.
Really thin.
Yeah, I'm sure it was 0.8.
We tried, because the other thing we were saying was there's the misinformation, isn't there, about, especially if you're working with the base metals, do you
flux it?
Yeah. Or not? So we've just tried both, and that's the one that we fluxed, and absolutely nothing has happened apart from the colour. And that's the one that we didn't. I'll do a close up of these because you can't really see on the camera, but this has got some quite nice,
it's nice
detailing, apart from the fact obviously I got overexcited and burnt through it.
But actually you couldn't see that was burnt until you cooled it down, could you?
No, and that's what I've noticed. The silver and the brass are fairly easy to see what's happening as you go, but the copper, even with the thin sheet and particularly with the thick sheet, you just couldn't see at all until you let it completely cool, because the red coloration was masking everything. It was glowing so much. These were the really chunky ones.
Bits. Yeah.
And you could see those flowing much more, couldn't we? In terms of the metal was
a lot
moving
more
a lot, but every time we took the torch away, it flattened out.
Yeah.
So with this and with the brass, you've got to do the final reticulation heat for a lot longer, wasn't it?
Yes.
A lot longer.
It was a good 2-3 minutes, I reckon, if not more.
And less control, because this one came out nice, but that's the back of the piece where it was stuck to the brick. Whereas that one came out quite nice and looks like trees, but that was the front of the piece.
Yeah, yeah. And actually, they don't look like
it's very
reticulation as you know it, do they?
No, that is nice texture, but it's not that. So it's not that I wouldn't try it again, but I think the thinner ones,
brass,
are prettier, and they're easier to then turn into things.
Yeah.
So this is the little piece of crinkle sheet that Kernowcraft sent, and it went
really quickly.
Really quickly.
Seconds, yeah.
Really quickly, seconds, uniform. So there was none of this mucking around with, the 7, 10, 12 annealings, heating, cooling, cleaning, scrubbing with brushes, all that sort of stuff. And this is made of the Reticulation silver, which is about 80% silver, 20% copper. So it's got a much higher copper content than normal sterling.
Yeah.
And it's Reticulation silver that you can get the really, really deep textures. But the Kernowcraft one, they've put a layer of fine silver over the top, which is what's moving straight away.
Okay.
And why you don't have to do the
quicker.
annealing. But because of that, because they're adding that extra fine silver, the overall percentage of this is still able to be hallmarked, whereas normal Reticulation silver you can't.
Okay.
But you do pay for the privilege, but because time's money, potentially.
Yeah. Versus
another, so that's another reason. So though it is obviously a lot more expensive, just in doing, like you say about your bales.
Yeah, they are. So these are just sterling silver. So they've been...
You reticulated them first.
Reticulated them first and then bent them, and actually once you've got the reticulation, it's much harder to bend into shape.
Yeah, very hard, very brittle.
Yeah.
Walloping it. Whereas this is still super soft, but it feels as if I would be able to work hard on it in the normal way once I've got my shape. And like I say, the other bonus of this stuff is you can pre-shape it and reticulate it. So what that means is you're not going to be knocking your pattern out if you want to dome it or do whatever it is. Whereas with normal silver and Reticulation silver, you would need to use like a clay support or something similar, just so that it's not going to collapse with the heat.
Yeah.
And then actually that's a good point. So one of the, although it's very easy to burn holes in it and sometimes the edges move in, you don't have full control. That's why people normally reticulate great big sheets and then they cut the section that they want to use. But equally, I quite like it sometimes when you get the holes, and it can become a feature.
Crack on the side of there, but I think it just adds to the piece.
It adds to the piece. I think it looks nice on the piece, but equally it's just coming back to it was brittle because of the heating.
Cooling constantly.
And sometimes if you get it a little bit too hot, then it becomes more brittle. But the plus side of getting it potentially a little bit too hot, you've got some nice deep textures on that, which are harder to get with the sterling. And then lastly, I've got one more question for you, and you've got to try not to swear.
Okay.
So the question I've got where I don't want you to swear is, how easy is it then to solder bezel strip onto something that was reticulated and has a heavy texture on it?
Very hard. Without swearing.
Because if we go back to the month that we did the soldering, one of the main important things was your two elements you're soldering together need to be completely flush, no daylight coming through whatsoever. And if you imagine you're trying to put something onto something that has a big old undulating texture, that's not very easy to do.
The two don't go together very well.
So with that one, you went through a whole range of ways to try and get it to sit flush.
So we used the Dremel, drilled out a little channel, wasn't quite deep enough, used some stamps to stamp and eventually got there, and in the end I've had to put 0.8 silver wire around the edge where it hasn't quite met, just to make sure the bezel sits nicely and isn't going to fall off or fall out where I've got a slight gap, particularly here where I've got a deep ridge.
If you were to push the bezel over the curve of your stone and it wasn't soldered at the base, it's going to sort of pull up and away. But quite often when you see reticulated pieces with larger stones set in them, they've got outer wire as well. And it's for that
okay. It's for that reason.
Because that's the easy way to get around it.
Okay.
But like I said, one of the other ways you could have done it was by making your bezel as its own little thing with its own little back. So it's almost like
which is actually what I did with this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or with the pre-bought ones as well, the little cups. They've got the flat back, and they're really, really easy to solder on because you've got a much bigger point of contact.
Yes.
And the wall is attached to the base.
Yeah.
That you're soldering.
So there's no risk of that pushing over. Yeah.
But the downside with that is with something like this, you're using silver that you otherwise wouldn't have to use.
Yeah.
The size of this as well, if that had its own backing, that's what, £3-4 plus of silver.
That you wouldn't see.
But equally, if you think about the amount of time it takes to get the bezel to sit flat, if it doesn't have its own base, maybe...
Swings and roundabouts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. This with its own bezel, which I then soldered onto the piece, was a lot easier than doing this today. Yes.
But equally, making the bail for that was easier than that time.
Yeah.
So you knew it was going to be harder, and you sort of got used to those movements.
Definitely.
A little bit.
Definitely.
That's good. So yeah, another fan of reticulation. I like it. So you're going to go and do some...
I'm going to go and try some brass at home. Yes, definitely.
And I'm going to... Let me know how you get on with it. And I am going to finally use the Midas that Kernowcraft sent to try and keep the shine, because I really like it and I don't want it to tarnish.